Some of the most amazing innovations don't come from a boardroom. They're forged in the fires of personal experience. That's exactly the story we're diving into today with NeuroDelta, a company whose mission didn't start with a business plan, but with a life-changing diagnosis. All right, let's get into it. And that right there, that's from the founder, Ali Payne. And it really says everything, doesn't it? He wasn't just some tech guy who spotted a market opportunity. He was a patient. He lived the problem. And that personal connection, well, that's the engine driving this entire story. So what is this critical gap he's talking about? Well, it all comes down to something called longitudinal MRI analysis. For anyone with MS, this process is absolutely everything. It's how doctors see if the disease is progressing. They're literally comparing your brain scans over months, sometimes years, hunting for tiny, almost invisible changes. But here's the problem. That process can be super difficult and kind of subjective. And that leads to a whole lot of uncertainty for patients and for their doctors. Now, facing this huge personal challenge, Ali Payne had something of a secret weapon. See, he wasn't just a patient, he was an architect, a world-class builder of massive data systems. Yeah, his background is straight out of Silicon Valley. We're talking about a high-scale company like Stitch Fix. His whole job was building these incredibly robust systems that could handle millions, and I mean millions, of data points, all in real time. He was basically a master at finding the signal in the noise, a skill that, as you can imagine, was about to become absolutely critical. And if you just glance at his career, you can see how all the pieces just fell into place. He starts in a medical research setting, then he moves into biomedical tech, and then he really sharpens his skills at the highest level of data engineering at Stitch Fix. It was the perfect training ground for what came next, founding NeuroDelta. And get this, on top of all that, he had a proven track record of managing some serious federal R&D funding. We're talking over $1.6 million. So the guy has the technical chops, for sure, and he knows how to lead these incredibly complex projects. But here's the thing, all that engineering firepower, it was only half of the puzzle. To really, truly solve this problem, Payne's powerful data infrastructure needed a completely new kind of intelligence. It needed an AI that doctors could actually look at and trust. And that brings us to the scientist in our story. Meet Dr. Kelly Cohen. Now, he's not your typical AI researcher. He's a pioneer in a field called explainable AI, or XAI for short. The whole idea is to make artificial intelligence less of a mysterious black box and more of a transparent, totally trustworthy tool. And if you want to understand just how serious his work is, just look at where it's been used. I mean, come on, fighter jet control systems, cardiovascular diagnosis, worker safety. These are all areas where a mistake isn't just a bug, it could be catastrophic. Oops is just not an option. And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? In these incredibly high-stakes fields, Dr. Cohen's AI systems deliver. They're not just accurate, they're transparent. This white box approach he's developed is literally built for reliability right from the very beginning. This quote from Dr. Cohen really gets to the heart of his mission. He's actively fighting against that black box model that's so common in AI, where we get an answer but have no clue how the AI got there. He wants to give doctors and clinicians answers they can actually understand, that they can interpret and verify for themselves. So let's just break that down real simple. Black box AI is like a magic box, right? Data goes in, an answer comes out, but what happens inside is a total mystery. White box AI, the kind Dr. Cohen builds, is like a glass box. The data goes in, and you can see the clear, logical, human-understandable rules it uses to get to the output. Now, if you're a doctor, that difference is everything. So you can see what's happening here, right? This is the moment where our two stories just collide. You've got the systems architect who personally lived the problem, and you have the pioneering scientist with a transparent solution. This is the alliance that NeuroDelta is built on. I mean, it's the perfect partnership. You have Ali Payne, who can build the superhighway, this robust, scalable system that can handle all this messy MRI data from a dozen different hospitals and machines. And then you have Dr. Cohen, who provides the transparent, trustworthy intelligence, the smart car to drive on that highway. One guy builds the engine, the other makes it intelligent and safe. So you bring these two powerhouses together, and what do you actually get? Well, you get a new future. A potential new standard for how we track and treat diseases like MS. So here's how it actually works. First, their system takes in all those different MRI scans and standardizes them. That's Elise architecture of work. Then they apply Dr. Cohen's white box AI to map and track every little change over time. And finally, and this is the key part, it delivers a report to the clinician that is crystal clear and easy to interpret. No black boxes, no mystery. And that brings us right back to where we started. The whole point of all this tech, this amazing partnership, is to close that critical gap that Ali Payne first discovered in his own journey. It's about giving doctors data they can finally trust and giving patients clarity, turning all that uncertainty into real, actionable information. When you really boil it all down, this whole story is about one thing: building trust. Trust between a patient and their own data, and trust between a doctor and their tools. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. If we can make AI this transparent and trustworthy for something as complex as the human brain, where else do we desperately need to do the same?